All right, everyone. Thank you for joining today on the TradeXchange Week Ahead Webinar. As always, we'll be going over some ideas and thoughts from last week, as well as what we're looking at for the upcoming week. Members, keep in mind, U.S. markets are closed tomorrow, Monday, February 20th, in observance of President's Day. As always, keep an eye on the news desk to get yourself ready for Tuesday's open. So the markets ended the week basically flat on a volatile yet non-eventful week. If you look at it from Monday to Friday, the Dow basically flat, S&P down less than 0.5%, and the NASDAQ up less than 1%. Last week, we had two readings on inflation. The CPI report, which came in lower again, but smaller than the expected number. Then we had the PPI report, which came in hotter than expected as industrial suppliers' prices rose more than expected. Markets, though, did not really take a hit on these inflationary reports, which may show for now a possible complacency by participants on inflation. Fed speakers continue to add to volatility as hawkish commentary added volatility and weakness to markets. With those hawkish comments, we saw continued strength in the US dollar, as well as the yields, which hit 3-month highs and continue to show a large yield curve inversion. With the strength in the US dollar, we saw a huge drop this week in energy-related names, especially oil. As we all know, oil is priced in US dollars in the international markets, and strength in the dollar adds pressure to prices. The next thing is, how is the consumer doing? Retail sales came out, saw its largest monthly increase in nearly 2 years. The question we have, if the Fed is trying to downplay economic activity, this clearly did not appease them, as the consumer is still strong, which could continue to fuel inflation fears. On the earnings side, with about 80% of earnings reported, we are trending at a subpar 5-year average on revenue estimate beats. This week, we do have some big name retail names reporting, with Walmart, WMT, Home Depot, HD, and eBay, EBAY. Next week, we are focused yet again on a few key earnings reports as mentioned, as well as the Fed speak and a few key economic reports, especially on Friday, watching that personal income and outlays. We have the FOMC minutes on Wednesday and a few housing reports throughout the week. So let's take a look at the week ahead. This is for the upcoming week of February 20th. As you can see, we do have some top earnings this week. Some of the top names we'll be watching: Alibaba, eBay, Home Depot, Moderna, Nvidia, Square, TJX, and Walmart. On Monday, as we mentioned, U.S. markets are closed. On Tuesday, we do have your existing home sales. And also, the Deputy Treasury Adeyemo is speaking. Also, on Tuesday, on the Canadian side, we have Canada's CPI and retail sales. On Wednesday, on the U.S. side, FOMC minutes and the Fed speak of Feds Williams. We also have the UN Security Council meeting. Thursday, on the U.S. side, the GDP, jobless claims, Fed speak of Fed's Bostage. We also have overseas, Japan's CPI and the UN Security Council meet. Friday, personal income and outlays, new home sales, and consumer sentiment. Also on the Fed speak side, we have Fed's Mester and Collins. Company events for the week, as always, analyst calls and annual meetings, as well as your top conferences for the week. As always, members, if you have any questions in regards to that, shoot us a message on the Ask the Desk or via email, and we'll break it down on any aspect of who is presenting and any big companies. Your economic calendar for the week, as we mentioned, Monday, U.S. markets are closed. On Tuesday, you got that home number, the existing home sales and the PMI composite flash. Wednesday, We do have the Redbook sales, which typically is on Tuesday, but with the market close, that gets shifted over, as well as the API crude oil report. On Wednesday, we'll be focusing on this FOMC meeting at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And as well, after hours, we have Fed's John Williams. On Thursday, quite a bit of info. We have your GDP data at 8:30 a.m. And then you have your EIA reports. Typically on Wednesday, we have the crude oil numbers, but that gets shifted because of the market close on Monday. So on Wednesday, we have your EIA nat gas at 10:30 and your EIA petroleum at 11 a.m. And then we also have Fed Speaks Bostic at 10:50 a.m. On Friday, a key inflation report at 8:30 with that personal income and outlays. Also important numbers on new home sales and consumer sentiment, followed by Fed Speaks Loretta Mester. So it's a pretty interesting, busy week. Not that busy on the Fed Speak side, but as always, members, we all know these could pop up throughout the week and see changes or additions. Check the news desk every morning to see those changes. On the international side, as always, we also provide you with any of the key economic headlines coming out from international on the economic calendar side. Earnings for the week. We do have a few big ones left, but this is slowly one of the, this and next week will be the possibly the closing ceremonies, I guess you can say, of earnings for this quarter. Your fear and good index, that greed continues to stay strong. Last week we were around 70, and this one at 69. So it continues to be on the greed mindset. Weekly sector performance. I'm sure you all remember last week, energy was all the way to the right. Strength in energy across the board. One of the only areas that had strength last week. This week, down over 6% on energy. Strength, though, in consumer discretionary, utilities, consumer staples, and industrials. Industry comparison and your sticky price consumer price index. Your targeted probabilities continue to show a 25 basis point hike around 81 to 82%. Your 10-year yield curve inversion are at a minus -0.78. Year-to-date returns, as we mentioned, NASDAQ, small uptick. So an interesting uptick in coffee this week, as well as a huge downtick in lumber. Lumber starting off the year was up 30-40%. Now it's back up only 2.65% for the year. The Dow, not much of a move. Gold as well. Saw a downtick, but nothing tremendous. Gasoline, though, the energy plays did get hit. Gasoline down close to 4%. Heating oil down close to 5%. Nat gas down close to 7%. Crude oil down about 5%. So the weakness this week clearly was in these energy plays. Your AAII Investor Sentiment Survey, continuing to see a bullish mindset, a little downtick this week and a little uptick on the bearish side, but strong bullish and neutral mindset as of so far this year has shown that has been the play. Your sector outlook weekly, as we mentioned before, another quick breakdown. Consumer discretionary still strongest of the year with communication services and information tech. As we mentioned last week, the week before, these three top were the three in the bottom last year. So it seems like those are being played. And energy, which was the strongest one last year, is the weakest as of this year so far. FDA calendar, as always. If we do have any different ones, we can always add those. IPO lockup expiration and your expected IPO openings for the week. So not that busy of a week when it comes to IPOs like we did last week, but we are seeing some action on the economic side this week. Before we jump into the charts, we're going to quickly jump over to the news desk. A few members have asked a lot of questions regarding some of the stuff that we're working on and some particulars in the news desk. So we're going to jump over this really quickly, then jump back into charts. So first things first, members, thoughts on that community chat room. So the thoughts will be we'll be having a button up here at the top, which would slice your news desk. On one side, we'll have all your information, all your news desk info. On the other side, we'll have your community chat room with the possibility of a pop-out button in case you wanted to have it the same as always. That community chat will be available to all our members as a community to share ideas, thoughts, comments. We're very excited to get that up and running. And that's the thought process. So basically, it'll be a split or a pop out, however the user wants, and to get all that access. Also, members, a lot of people have always asked us, what is the Ask the Desk? Ask the Desk is basically real-time access to the TradeXchange news desk team. You have a question, comment, see a headline you don't understand, shoot us a message. It's there for you. It's free. It's, it gives that extra, comfort in knowing that that if there's a question, you can have it answered by the TradeXchange news desk team. And then everyone always asks us, what is the TradeX Plus? The TradeX Plus is our TradeWire SEC filing database. If you follow SEC filings, this is real time and takes out all the information you need from those SEC filings. You like purchases, you know what the company is, who bought it, how much you purchased it for, what price, sells, same exact thing. We have it on all of the databases across the board. It's all the information you need taken out for you without having you sit there and trying to dissect each and every filing on the SEC side. It's a great thing. A lot of people have always asked about it. We'll go over webinars with these down the road, but we just wanted everyone to take a peek and see what this is all about. So that's your TradeX Plus aspect. You have access to all the filings. A lot more updates coming on that down the road. This is the TradeXchange news desk, the thought process on the community chat, and your squawk. We'll stay here. The new squawk that is coming will stay here. We'll have full access and additional pieces that we're very excited about. So now let's jump back into the charts, and we'll be finishing up this webinar. So taking a peek at gold. As we can see, this is a pure technical play, has been a pure technical play. Once that downtrend broke, that weakness trended to support, broke, trended to support, tried to base, broke, and it continued down to the next level of support. Downtrend on watch for gold for a possible upside move. SPY daily, not much action this week on the SPY, still in a little range. We're watching the trend lines and the resistance and support levels on the SPY. NASDAQ. The NASDAQ daily, no changes to the chart. Basically the same thought process in regards to the SPY and diamonds you'll be seeing coming up. It's basically in the range. We tried to bounce here. Remember, there was no change to the chart. Once we tested that resistance level up here, could not break through, sold off, ended in that 11.5, 12.250 range on the NASDAQ. SPY daily on a moving average and trend look, as well as your triple Qs and your IWMs. Your 10-year yield as well, seeing some somewhat positive possibilities here. We are watching this very closely on this moving average cross to see if it sticks or not. Your 10-year yield daily on a more trend line basis. We added an uptrend this week since we have that strength, but we mentioned it. Once that level range was broken, we saw a strength continuing. So we're watching this level compared to the level back in the December time. That 3.905% to see if we test it and break it, or we test it and sell off. Diamonds on a daily as well on a moving average basis. IWMs, we did add a short-term downtrend from the 200 resistance level up here. We are watching this close. Watching this trend line very closely as the IWM had strength throughout the week, but as well did not make that big of a move. So we're waiting to see, is this backing and filling for a range, or we're looking at something more broad-based once these trends and supports and resistance could possibly be broken. So we're watching the IWMs very closely. HYG on a moving average and trend look. S&P 500 daily. We did add that short-term downtrend from the 4200s level, so resistance test. We mentioned last week, while we are in this range, we are in limbo land, and volatility can continue. Volatility continued, but at the end of the week, we ended basically flat on the S&P. So we are seeing a lot of moves, but we're not seeing a lot of conviction moves. So we're waiting for that conviction to come back into these markets for a next directional play. Your VIX continuing to base and bounce off of these levels. Watching this as well closely, because this could add some action to the markets. Oil, no changes to the chart. Last week we mentioned we ended the week right at resistance levels and to watch for an upside break and close above resistance. We did not get that. We did not break resistance. What we did get, is a test of resistance and a sell-off back to previous support levels. So we are watching these bands very closely for any directional move in crude oil. US dollar, no changes to the chart. Just looking at this chart, you can see something is trying to be built here. We had this downtrend break, it hit the resistance level to a T, broke above resistance, tested the next level of resistance to a T, but we did sell off. So we are watching this range again between the 103s and 105s, correction, the 104s and 105s to see if we have any directional move on the US dollar. Bitcoin, no changes to the chart. Last week we mentioned two levels to watch, 25,000 upside, 22,500 downside. We saw the downside break followed by a strong reversal and back to test 25,000 resistance. We ended the week right below that resistance level. Right now we're watching for that upside 25 break to a possible 27.5 test or that gap test to the upside. If we do break back below 22.5 on volume, we can easily test that downside gap at 20,000. And then you have the SMH daily on a more outmoving average and technical look. So members, that's your week ahead webinar. Any questions, please post in the chat box. We have a few questions in the our emails, so we're going to be mic silent for about a minute just to go over the questions, and then we'll be right back to answer a few of the questions that are asked week to week. First question, as always, some of our members always ask us our thought process for the week ahead. Members, this week, we're going to be keeping a close eye on these economic reports. As you can see, there's not much on the Fed speak side. So we aren't expecting that much volatility when it comes to the Fed speakers. This week, we're watching econ reports. And we're going to keep a close eye on those Walmart headlines, see what the retailers are doing on Walmart's earnings. But this week, existing home sales on the home side, new home sales on Friday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, the GDP number. You have the FOMC minutes on Wednesday, personal income and outlays to end the week. So it's a pretty busy week on the economic side. That's the focus for us right now. This week, economic data, especially on a shortened week, and see how those reports can correlate either to good news is good news, bad news is bad news, or it's the opposite again. So it'll be interesting to see the momentum and the mindset of market participants following these reports. Another question was a question in regards to the news desk aspect. Members, yes, that is an enable auto, so it's an auto scroll in case you ever do scroll up and it gets paused or whatever. But the asset desk members, yes, all you do is hit this button, enter your name, your email, and it hit start chatting, and you get live access to the news desk, to the actual people who run the TradeXchange service. If you have any questions, comments, they're there from 8:30 in the morning till 4:30 in the afternoon, live access. And as well, someone else asked a question regarding the TradeWire. This is all real-time data, members. When it gets posted on our news desk, our TradeWire. No delays, no nothing. Also included, yes, is the press release database that you have full access to the presses in regards to any press releases that do come out throughout the day as well. But yes, that is what the TradeX Plus TradeWire site is all about. One final question we did have is in regards to the markets. The question was the thought process on the Fed side. Members, like we mentioned last week, it seems like the Fed is playing good cop, bad cop. You had Fed Chair Powell a little dovish but then followed by comments, but especially last week by Bullard, in regards to these reports of the inflation reports and how the consumer is still very strong. The jobs area is still beyond strong. So it seems like we're playing a little bit of good cop, bad cop here. And it's interesting to see what the market will finally do when it comes to push and shove, what direction the markets will take. With earnings season slowly ending, there's not much outside on the outside of the economic data and Fed speak that could possibly push these markets. Clearly, the Ukraine-Russia crisis is not affecting markets anymore. The energy crisis is no longer there. The possibility of it, we saw action at the end of last year, but not much on the thought process of the impacting European or US markets. So right now, it's all about, in our opinion, after this week in earnings, it's all about econ data, Fed speak, and back to the headline of inflation. Members, once again, members, keep in mind, U.S. markets are closed tomorrow, Monday, for President's Day. Enjoy the 3-day weekend. Thank you again for joining us this week on the Weekend Week Ahead Report webinar. Enjoy, be safe. Thank you. TradeXchange out.